Hey guys, it's BJ. I'm here to tell you about how to replace a catalytic converter on a 2013 Ford Focus SE non-turbocharged. Turbocharged version is probably a little pretty similar to this. However, you just got the turbo that you have to take out as well. So basically, when I started doing this, I didn't really know what to expect. Well, I knew what to expect, but I usually research on how to do things before I dive into it. I looked on YouTube, there was nothing. I even got a manual. It didn't really tell me much of anything to do, and I did some research online and really couldn't find anything. And so again, this is a 2013 Ford Focus SE non-turbocharged. So first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to want to unplug these O2 sensor plugs right there. There's two of them. There's one in front and behind the catalytic converter. As you can see, one right here, and there's one all the way back there, right there. So then once you do that, you're going to want to take this cover off, okay? This is covering the whole exhaust manifold catalytic converter assembly. It all comes on one. It's all welded together. I wouldn't advise using a universal system because the way this is designed is just very, very close to the exhaust manifold. So as far as using a universal system, I guess you can try, but I wouldn't risk spending any extra money than you have to in case it doesn't work out. So I got the whole assembly, exhaust manifold, catalytic converter assembly, and it bolts onto the exhaust pipe. So yeah, you're going to take this cover off. You're going to undo the exhaust manifold bolts. They're relatively easy to get to. And then there's a bracket underneath the catalytic converter. You can't really see it unless I get under the car, but it's just right underneath here. It's attached to the block. And then it bolts onto the rest of the exhaust pipe. And there's kind of like this cross member that you'll need to undo. And there's just a small strip of metal. It's like a cross member. And then there's two hooks underneath at the end of the exhaust pipe that kind of go underneath, and they just slip into a rubber stabilizer system. So once you do all that, basically the catalytic converter is away from the block, and it's away. It's ready basically to be taken out. However, the issue that you run into is this space right here between the top of the engine and this cowl part. It's not very much room. So before you do all that, I'd advise you to take off these covers right here. They just slip off. There's a bolt right here, and underneath that cover there's another bolt, and then there's these Torx head bolts right here, and there's this hard plastic cowl piece. This is separate from this. There's these plastic things right here. This thing just slips out. This hard plastic part, it just slips out. And once you slip that out, not only it'll give you a little bit more room to take all this stuff loose from the top side, but it is imperative that you take that out so that you have enough room to slip that whole assembly out between that gap. Another thing that you will have to do is undo these engine mount bolts. There's four right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess you could only take two off, maybe these two or these two. If you were going to take just two off, I would advise just taking these two off. I end up taking all four off just to give me a little bit more play. And there's also another one way back here in the back corner. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, right there. See if it'll focus. Right there. And you can get to that from underneath the car. So I'm telling you to take these engine bolt mounts loose, but you need some way to support the engine when you take those off. So first thing you'll need to do is hook up an engine hoist to this this linkage right here. Okay, and just hook it underneath, and then that way it supports the weight of the engine before you take those bolts out. Please do this. Please do this before you undo the engine mount bolts. It's you need some way to support the engine, because the only way other support is back here, and if there's nothing to support on this side, then it's just bad things. And so once you have that support, once you undo those engine mount bolts, the engine is able to move enough to where you can, once you take this off too, take all those engine mount bolts off, that thing will slip out, and then you can slip the new one back in. And so once you get all that done, then you should be okay. As soon as you slip the new one back in, I'd advise you to put the engine mount bolts all together. Hey Matt, it's my brother. To put the engine mount bolts all together again, and so that way, you know, you're safe as far as getting underneath the car. You don't have the engine supported by the engine hoist if you're underneath the car. So yeah, put the engine mount bolts together, and then you know, everything should be, you just reverse that process and it should be good to go. All right, guys, appreciate it. You have a good day. Again, this is a 2013 Ford Focus SE. Good luck, guys.